Alright, okay. Have one time.
My phone's not very full.
So, you guys bring markers? Alright, this is a 0.3 micron. I don't like this much. So, actually this will show it fine once I get the pink, right? Yeah, okay, great. So if you guys want to come up to the microphone, you can ask these guys questions about how they draw, how they do their work. And then if you guys want to start drawing too, then we'll just swap out and trade spots.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Does this work? Why are you guys so shy? Oh, here comes the guy.
Now the thing is, a lot of times when people draw, they think detailed drawing is like drawing every hair. And so when they draw hair, they'll draw what they perceive to be every sort of filament of hair. And a lot of times when they get to the eyelashes, you'll see a lot of kids actually do this kind of thing, like, you see that? They draw like every little eyelash, and actually what works better is when you sort of approximate these shapes and make more graphical elements. And so we actually go in and make the eyelashes into clumps of eyelashes. And then the hair, we often draw the shadow underneath the hair rather than the hair itself. And that gives a little more body. It's like you use some shampoo or something like that. And then with the eyes, I just put a couple dots in there. Again, it's the suggestion of the eyes rather than drawing the actual eye. So it's a little dot with a white squiggle in the middle, little dot, half open dot. So if you put those three dots together, it kind of looks like a shiny eyeball.
Alright, I don't think the mic works, so I'm just going to shout.
Sure.
You guys, everyone up here has very individual styles as far as drawing and proportions and detail and just everything. Is that something that you guys had a conscious decision to make as you were becoming an artist, or do things just happen accidentally?
For me, I started out, all my big influences were, Mark Silvestri and Jim Lee and Dale Keown and Simon Bisley was big for me, And I think Mark was my biggest early influence, and Jim Lee too. I just slowly started adding, if I really liked an artist, I would take a look at their work and try and incorporate. To be honest with you, I would copy pictures from them. Just in my spare time.
I do it too.
Yeah. And I would kind of get a feel for what they're doing, and then I'd try and incorporate that when I'm doing. And I went through a long period where I went through Travis Tress phase, and Dale Keown was big for me, and Simon Bisley again. Mike Vignola, Anyway, and as I brought in different artists like that, it just, it would kind of direct the way my art was going, and I never really felt like I developed a style. I still don't feel like, if you look at what I do, you can see where I took that from Kevin Nolan and that from somebody else, and it's all
right there. But at the same time, like, I can look at some, like, the Disturbed cover. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, wait, is that David Finch? And then I looked through the little credits, and I'm like, oh my god, that's his work. Like,
wow, that's awesome.
And same thing with every one of you guys. And I mean, like Michael Turner, may he rest in peace. His proportions, you can recognize that immediately.
Yeah.
How wide the shoulders are, narrow he makes the waist, just different things like that.
I remember when Mike was starting out, he was looking at Jeff Campbell, and he was looking at Will Patachio. The first thing he did was it was like a Wetworks kind of crossover book. And those were his two big things. And then he, one day, just put it away. He was kind of done with it, and he went, and his whole style was, I don't really remember him looking at anybody else. I think he just had a real confidence in, the look that he had and that he wanted to go for it.
Hi, Suze. I just have a question. We have a Batman author and writer and artist here. We also have the Dark Knight. Writer and artist, do you guys have like a bet on who's gonna,
be on time?
Who's gonna sell more books or anything?
So we always call each other up. I'm going to sell more books than you.
Actually, the real question was, what's
No.
the best advice you can give to any artist?
Okay, well, my advice would be to do it for the love of it and to draw inspiration from everything around you. Like, if you want to do comic books, you know, look at real life. And, you know, for me, I used to copy pictures from my mom's magazines, like Cosmopolitan and Vogue, you know, when she was in her 30s and I was like, you know, 8 years old, 10 years old. I would take those pictures and draw the ladies and, you know.
I did that too.
You know, so I kind
never got past National Geographic.
So I did a lot of that. And then when I got into comics, you know, I was very young. I think I was like 19 years old, and you know, looking at people around me and what they were doing. You know, like John Byrne was a big influence on me. And you know, when you're young, I think you're, you know, like you're going to look at other people that are better than you and try to emulate some of what they do. And you do learn that way as well. But eventually, you develop your own, you know, your own style. There's a lot of different aspects to penciling comic books. I mean, it's more than just, you know, illustrating. It's storytelling, watching a lot of movies. You're basically a director. You're the cinematographer. You're the actors. There's a lot that goes into it. Just study the craft and try to learn every day. I think that artists are basically students of the craft, and you never stop learning. And I'm still learning every day different techniques and different things that I like to do. So as long as you keep an open mind to keep learning and keep improving and keep getting better and making strides, then I think you're on the right track.
Thank you.
That's it. Thanks.
Two questions, is that all right? First one is, I know a lot of different people have different techniques for cleanup and these messy lines. What are your favorite kinds?
Well, for me, I always sketch everything in. I use the same pencil for everything, which I got confused about last time we did this. But I sketch everything in with a 2H pencil, and then I use a kneaded eraser and lighten it down so you can barely see the lines that are there. And then draw it again a little bit tighter. I do the same thing again, and then I do my final drawing. So by the time I get to the, you know, the final tight lines, I know exactly where everything is, and I don't end up with much of a mess at all. And then any place where I do have some scratchy something in there, I have an electric eraser, which is great. It goes. So yeah.
I meant for like ink, if you use like white paint or digital or something.
Oh, well, I like to, since I'm inking my own work these days, it's something that I'm kind of used to, but I use Pro White, or there's like a real opaque white that is like really waterproof. It gets kind of goopy sometimes, but I use that, and if there's something that's really messed up, I might do it in Photoshop. But I prefer to do everything on the page and have it be represented on the actual artwork if I can, and not resort to Photoshop. But what I will do in Photoshop is, after I scan my art, I'll you know, use the brush tool and use the white, and I'll just go in there and erase all the little dust particles and little ink splatters that you miss. And you know, when you zoom in, you see a lot of that. And really, you know, it takes, you know, maybe 20 minutes or so per page, depending on how complex the page is. But it's a little time consuming, but you have to do it.
And then my other question is if you've ever had any particularly bizarre convention sketch requests.
Well, in France, I was asked to do a French maid with garter belts and kind of bending over and all that. I'm like, well, I'm in France. No one's going to see this, you know, in America. So I did a real sexy babe, and, you know.
And it's not on the internet?
I haven't seen it on the internet, but, you know, it wasn't that good, so maybe that's why.
I think the mustache kind of...
Yeah, the mustache there, and the bulge under the skirt. I forgot where I'm at.
It's not France, dial it back.
When you like for like younger